we're facing 290 frontage road, and the purple that you see to the far right is where we're gonna have the retail. And that comes off Pecan, and Phillips can actually connect if we get the access easement. And then in the middle is gonna be townhomes, and we're also gonna look at putting a hotel there. So we're gonna divide the townhomes instead of 70 to 30 and put in a hotel. And where we're starting now is gonna be at the far back on the left, which is 1098 and Elm. And that's where we're building the student housing, but it's really multifamily. And we're gonna cater to students as well, so it's really for anyone in outside public. We're gonna have 15 acres, and we're gonna have 30 buildings, and they're gonna be 30 units per building for a total of 390 apartments, and the total beds is 546. We're only doing 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, and we're gonna be a luxury upscale apartment complex. So again, we're not just catering to students, we're catering to the general public as well. Do you have any questions about the apartment complex?
Yeah, I did be the council. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How much do you estimate a room would be for the students that would be living there?
Right now, our market study that we did by CBRE, the commercial real estate company, is we didn't do it based on students, we did it based on the fair market value. So our average rents average $1,300 for a 1 bedroom. $1,200 for a 1 bedroom and $1,300 for a 2 bedroom. And they're fully furnished, as well as they have an option to not have them furnished if they're coming from the outside.
And you say you did this price analysis for what?
CBRE, a real estate company, commercial real estate company, because again, we're not saying we're student housing, we're multifamily.
So, yeah,
How is that, like, do you know the average amount that citizens of Prairie make?
I don't know the average amount of citizens of Prairie, but what we did is a radius search. And when we go outside of Prairie and we're looking at the jobs that we're bringing into Prairie, it's gonna compensate for that. We are looking at doing a discount program for the college students because we did do an estimate of what everyone's paying. And I think University Square, they paid $3,800 per semester with food. They pay $3,800 per semester, but also they're, that's for a 4 bedroom. And that square foot is 900 square feet for a 4 bedroom.
And you know, but you know, what is included, their meal plan is also included in that, total cost estimate. So how would you make up, or how do you guys go about, if a student is spending $1,200, on rent, what would his food, he'd have to buy their own groceries too?
Correct.
All right, my next question would be, since it's not just for students and it's for citizens, it's, what kind of, I get that it's planning for the future, but I would think, or I would hope, and moving forward, that we could somewhat talk about, like, being that you guys are gonna get business from the community of Prairie at this moment in time does not have, that's not like feasible for our citizens or students to be able to maintain. And like, we know that there's a need here for housing, but it also should be a price, affordable living. And that's like, you can get a nice place in Houston for that.
let me ask you a follow-up question. On the 2 bedroom, it's 13 something?
Yes, sir.
So if 2 people are there, it's under 70 to 6 something.
Roughly, yes, sir.
Which
But we,
would-
that's
if
only
it
if it's
happened
a
to
student,
be-
yes.
Right, okay, so that is.
But we are looking to make
a
arrangements for students because again, we're not just catering to students. With
Gotcha.
our business that we're bringing as well as other companies coming to the area, that's something that's affordable.
Councilman Randall?
All right, so my question is, first off, thank you for coming and doing this presentation, and just looking at the, the pictures, I think it looks like a great development, but my question is, with the location of this establishment, with it butting up against one of our most prestigious neighborhoods, I don't see, you mentioned that we would enter between Phillips and you said if we get access to an easement, we would connect to 290. So in the event that we don't get that easement to 290, what is going to be the entrance and exit ways to the development?
What we've done is, before we even started building and buying the property, we tried to work with the homeowners who own the property behind us, which would give us access. So far, we haven't been successful,
Right.
but because we did do our due diligence, Elm Street and actually Pecan, already has an easement granted because that was already zoned multifamily. So we're gonna look at coming in off of Elm, making that a one-way entry to control traffic, because we definitely think about the residents and the safety. And then our exit will be off of Pecan.
So what you're saying is, so we're talking about 546 beds plus retail development, which is, we're talking about at least in a given day could be over 1,000 cars driving through one of our
So
residential.
once we get to retail, we'll have access to TxDOT. That's something we're working on now.
So now we're still talking about so if we have 546 beds and every student has their own car, that's 546 cars that are gonna be driving through this community where kids play, where residents live. And this is, like I mentioned, this is one of our most prestigious, oldest neighborhoods in our community. So I'm not sure, like I said, I think it's a great development, but now, you know, we have people in this community that have told me out of their own mouth that if this happens and we allow this traffic to increase by, what is it, probably 200 to 300%, they're going to pick their families up and move, because that's dangerous. And so I guess my question to you is how do you plan to access this? Because outside of that part, I think it's a great development, but we can't, in my mind, we can't put our citizens at risk. We just talked about, we just had a lady come talk about her mom is, and this is, so we have a very, you know, senior citizen community, then we have kids. And so we talk about, you know, it's not gonna be student housing, but it's gonna be student housing, you know, but indirectly. So we have all of these different people who are gonna be driving through, we don't know, they're gonna be speeding, they're gonna be, you know, partying. And so any given day, we're talking about 500 cars driving through the neighborhood where we have kids playing. So can you kind of address that?
Well, again, we're trying to get the access so y'all can help us, because everyone here knows neighbors and they know everything about it. So you know where we're located, so if you know the homeowners, that's something y'all can reach out, because we have religiously tried since October to get them to give us access.
So can you explain what that means to get access?
Just to where we have an easement access coming straight down the side of the property, to their property line.
That would be behind the development.
Correct. Which will put us right at 1098. And then the other thing is, we are looking at building a walking bridge, because we're close walking distance to the campus, they don't have to drive every day. And then with the campus not having adequate parking, the walking bridge will be safe, as well as leaving their car on the property.
Councilman Rutherford.
Thank you for, what's your name?
Angelia?
Angelia. Thank you for coming before City Council. One of the many things that I've tried to be fair and consistent on is making sure we ask everybody the same question. So one, I want to commend you for coming before council, right? Because again, many times, many of the developments that we're fighting, they were snuck in here and we weren't able to ask the questions. So I want to say thank you. Second, Councilman Randall asked about options for easements, and so whether you get the easement for coming off of 1098 or the easement off of 290 is a TxDOT issue. What is your time frame? Because if the projects are 3 to 5 years before you have it, how are you going to phase those in? So we know. So if you, by looking at this diagram, are you doing the middle first, outside to the left second? Right, and so the apartments that I'm looking at the, is that the pink ones?
Yes, the pink first, and then we're gonna go to the purple, which is the
Okay,
front, so we
that's
can
two.
bring in income to the city.
And
And
the
then we'll come
townhomes?
back to the townhomes and the hotel.
Okay.
Can I interject for a second, just for clarification? So we said a 3 to 5 year process, right?
For
And
the
so
completion.
for the completion. So the first phase is going to be the apartments.
Correct.
So you mentioned that Pecan would be the exit and Elm would be the entrance. How would that work if the other half, would there still be a road that goes down to Pecan?
Yes, like as you see on the map, Elm and Pecan is up at the top, so we're gonna have a driveway. And then we're gonna be a controlled gate access, so you have to come in and go out. You can't go both ways. So you strictly only able to enter one way and exit the other way.
But there's also entranceway right here on Phillip Street.
Yes,
Right.
and that's, well, Phillips actually access on 290, but we're gonna take Phillips up to Pecan and exit out until we get 290 access.
No, I'm talking about on the other end of the.
Yes,
the
well,
part that
again,
that
our
exits
property
to 98.
ends, where you see the corner, our property ends there on the corner. So we're trying to get access to take us from Phillips, which is right behind our lift station, to someone else's property so that we can then access 1098.
She's
Please,
saying they don't
please,
have.
Chief, would you keep the audience down? You got a presentation.
So right now, your property, I'm assuming ends where it says the gate,
Right past
Right
there,
by-
right by the last tree,
by Phillips Street.
yes.
Okay, and so right now, that's not, there is a half of a road there. You're saying that we would need to, if you get access through that property owner, you'd make that an additional street.
That would be the entry and exit. We make it 2 lanes. One
Wait,
to come
wait.
in and one to come out.
All right, so maybe I thought you were trying to get access through the property owner on the other backside.
No, back here. We're trying to come in off of Elm and Phillips, close to 1098, which is the front street of the school.
Okay. Now, so have you, the two questions I have, I'm assuming you did a study in reference to how would you make this a one-way on both of those? Is there something, is that a temporary one-way, is that permanent, how are you gonna make that? Because if you're gonna, and I'm assuming this is as phases, if you're gonna open this up for retail, how would a retail person who's trying to get access to that, who don't live there, get that access? So,
They won't be able to. If you see in the middle of the property between the pink and the orange and yellow, it says gate in the tree line, that's gated. The students or the residents can't even enter. That gate there is gonna be strictly for 911 emergencies.
so the retail
It's separated.
is separated, but then I would only be able to get access, so that's not even coming right now. So we're saying, when we're visualizing this, our basic conversation is how do we have the ingress and egress, or kind of the traffic flow from phase 1, because phase 2 and phase 3 isn't gonna work unless you get text dot right away.
Correct.
And
And I have the engineers here in case they have any input on the study we did.
Well, one of the problems with the TxDOT driveway is we will get the access eventually, but as you guys are aware, I mean, it takes between 12 and 18 months for them to even grant a permit. So that's kind of where we are right now. We're in the beginning stages of trying to get the access for the 2 driveways off of 290. And it is possible we may only get the one main entrance between the 2, the sort of L-shaped purple buildings for the retail. The distance may just be too close to the Phillips driveway, but we're going to ask for everything that we believe that we need right now in order to get that from TxDOT, and let them tell us no, versus just.
That's a lot.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Corey, can you point to the middle of
And
the
also,
master plan where it says gate, straight up? Yeah, right there, that's the private gate, so only the police and paramedics can come in that way. And that divides the 2 projects. Thank you.
So first, I want to express the same gratitude as all the other council members. Thank you for coming in front of us. This presentation, not in front of just us, but in front of the community. Y'all have a website, correct?
Yes,
So on the website, one thing it states, it says, now accepting deposits to reserve your space for buildings 1, 2, 3, and 12. If we are unable to complete these buildings by August 1st, 2019, you'll be notified by July 1st, and your deposit will be refunded. So I know you're saying this was a 3 to 5 year completion project, correct?
yes, actually that part we haven't pushed our website out there because it's out there, but it's not out there. And that's because we were trying to go through the whole process to have something by school start, which we're not. So therefore, we haven't put everything on the site as far as the buildings, but buildings 1, 2, 3, and 13, I believe, are the 4 we're gonna start with and phase it out. Our goal is to have those by December, and then from there, we'll finish the rest of them.
Okay. Well, for the only thing for that clarification, because they go to the website, and they pass that address along, and because they see the August 1st, a lot of people are getting worried because it's already about to get into July. And so if y'all can make that correction on.
They're working on that,
Okay, thank you.
definitely.
I just have one question because of Phillip Street. Right now, that's I'm trying to understand what are you needing access to? If I'm not mistaken, Phillip Street on 1098 is a city street that is halfway paved. Am I correct? That's by the church. So that's Phillip Street, and then the church is, yep, right on that corner.
But there's some land behind ours.
No, the church is that green.
Right, so this, where the pointer is, the lighter green would be that trench that runs behind Alta Vista, right? This would be the church,
Yes,
this would be 1098.
yes. Now, the thing is, there's a landowner behind us. I believe that belongs to the Andersons, and we tried to work with them, so we're still trying. We haven't got access, so we can't just enter their property.
The Andersons is down here.
No, they own it all. We've already gone to the Prairie district.
But when you, I guess my question
This may help you. Here's a bear.
on this map, you have Phillip Street, and the only reason I'm asking the question, Phillip Street has the church on the corner and an apartments right there. And that street ends after the apartments and one house. My question, on this map, are you saying that the city's gonna make that a full street that connects into Alta Vista? Because on your diagram, that's what it shows, and so.
We're
I'm
just
trying
connecting to Phillips. However, our property ends right past the S on Phillips. So there's still a landowner behind us in order for us to have access. The reason we're saying Phillips is because we're trying to connect into Phillips.
This might help you understand. I think you're talking about the end of Phillips and it's kind of right here. I think this is that single house you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a house and there's some apartments and then a church.
Yeah, so, and I apologize, not everybody can see this, but, so her property is drawn. So this is, whenever she talks about the public access, this is two options that we're looking at.
Right.
We would have to do, Angelina would have to build that around.
So this is the private, so, well, the reason why I asked is because this is where I live at, but, for those who want to know, Ms. Webster. So right here is where you have to buy from the property owner, where you're trying to negotiate, which is the Andersons. This one is this is what the city are currently owns, and you can see how the titles in. So our lift station is back here, this is why I'm trying to.
Yeah, but our property still, the Anderson property still butts up to our property, and we don't have access to
To
it.
even come to the-
Yes, correct.
Need to point us.
So, is that something, that's a city issue, is that correct?
Well, it depends, because it may or may not be Phillip Street, but if the land's acquired and it's extended, even if the name changes from Phillips, it's what I think the primary concern here is they're trying to address something to alleviate traffic, as you and others have shared, out of concerns for passing through Alta Vista. What they're basically describing is the other option that they're trying to work on. And it may, like you said, it may change from the name Phillips, but they're just showing it continuing. Now, I don't know if Phillips is another one of our numerous unfinished streets. So that's, something else that we're taking a look at, and something they kind of brought to my attention, to be honest with you. Any other questions, council?
So I guess I just wanna, I need to ask this for, I guess for my own, clarification purposes. Because I hear, what we're trying to do. So what is the contingency plan that if, because we just said it's gonna take 12 to 18 months to get the easement on 290, which I'm kind of, concerned about that, because we also have a lift station right there, exit 290. So how would there be how would there be an easement off of 290 with the lift station being?
Oh, let me answer that one. TxDOT, in working with them, they've already drawn what the access or service roads would look like from James Muse Parkway, crossing University Drive, all the way as far as to Richards Road and Leendo Parkway. So they've already drawn that. The only thing we're working out in some respects now is getting that done with the additional funding. Now, in looking at this along 290, there have been conversations with TxDOT, and they are working on things as far down as FM 362, because the additional 1,000, some say 2,000 homes that are about to go in there by, I believe it's the Johnson Development Company out of Houston. I think they're referred to as the largest in Houston. They're building that there. They're working, as well as the university right on the other side of University Drive from this project. They're well on their way on discussions and trying to make happen access roads. And now the discussions, because of this project, the cricket complex, something that some other people are trying to do right along Richards Road before you get to the cricket complex, they're basically seeing that we have a need that just, maybe a couple of years ago we didn't have, but they're trying to work with, and we've had several meetings and discussions on this, and that's why TxDOT, working with their area director, they actually drew out the maps to accommodate this situation. So between what the university is doing and the other developers on the other side of 1098, as well as on their side of 1098 down to Richards Road, in the conversations, it's only a matter of time, and I was informed about a week ago that TxDOT received some additional funding. So one of the things that I need from you and each of the others, some of the others are working on it, is, I guess in a sense, this would probably work. This drawing right here delineates what it is you're trying to do and where you're trying to do it. So if you could email me that separately, then I can print it, and I can get that to U.S. Congressman Michael McCall, who 2 weeks ago confirmed with me that he's willing to write a letter on our behalf because of all the things that are going on in Prairie View. And he's the one that informed me that TxDOT recently received some additional funding. So he's going to try to help us tap into that. So we're trying to make it happen. But again, all good questions and legitimate concerns and things that certainly can and do need to be addressed.
So, back to my question. So, in the event that we do get this access, this easement off of 290, would the plan still be to use Elm Street and Pecan Street as an entrance and exit?
We haven't crossed that yet, so I can't really say, to be honest. I know Elm is easy access or 1098, and then we just have to look at what we can do with the citizens.
You said Elm is what, I'm sorry?
An easy access for the students when they come in without having to circle all the way back around.
Right.
So we're just trying to make sure whatever we do,
Well-
that the residents are taken care of as well as students, if students actually live at our property.
Yes, go ahead.
Real quick, I think 2 points. One, I think what Councilman Randall is talking about is very important because it's going to help. It's going to determine how our community changes, and we want to make sure that the citizens in the community make sure that we're trying to balance what currently exists.
And it's going to affect how your development is received by the community too, so that's why it's important that we address this.
I think for us, the pictures are great. Again, I thank you for coming before us. 2 things that I would like to get some additional information on. Your property butts up 2 lift stations, and I would love to hear the conversation on how we enter into community benefits agreement, whether it be about sewer and water line on that area, on how we work together and partner, because that large of a development is going to add to the increased capacity which already exists. And I think if we plan it out in advance, we may need another water tower or another lift station as far as capacity. And so it'd be good to start having that conversation before you start development, because it may be able to save your development some money, but also save the city some money if we did it at the same time. So if you could get that information to me, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been including USW and various engineers in this project as well. Yes, Councilwoman?
I wanted to know, what was the pricing for the townhomes? What is your projected pricing?
We haven't done them yet.
Would you guys be willing to hold a workshop, with the citizens and get some of their comments, concerns, feedback?
Definitely.
Well, again, thank you all so much. Yes.
Do you have a card?
I can do that.
We'll help you set it up.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, discussion and possible approval, the city council meeting minutes dated June 10, 2019. I think with everything that they were working on, those aren't quite prepared, are they, Ms. Johnson? No. Okay, so we will carry over item 2. Item 3, discuss an update on the most recent Bureau Veritas inspection reports for Panther Hill Apartments, the Gates at Prairie View, and Campus Edge Apartments. Councilmember Wallace, and we've got Ms. Rogers here with Bureau Veritas.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Good to have you back, thank you.
Good to see you.
You have all the sheet looks like this in front of you.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
All right. Bear with you.
No telling, I tell you, I'm outside giving you everything. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. There you go. There we go.
This is a project activity. I went back to January 1st, so I'll give y'all 6 months, since it does say discuss and update on most recent. This is something also that I have been able to show Ms. Myra up front to be able to pull in case y'all need these at additional times. If you take a look at the first one, it's going to show you where the checkers pass their plan review. And if you go down, you can see, like what we were just discussing, the Gates at Prairie View, their plan review failed. They're having to get some more stuff, supposed to get it back to us so it can re-go through plan review.
Can you, as you're going, can you tell us briefly what's all included in your plan review? As we,
Plan review goes to the Plano office, and it's different when it comes to commercial or residential. We have plan reviewers that specialize in residential and plan reviewers that specialize in commercial. So what they do when they receive the plans and they receive the permit applications, the TDLR, the com check if it's commercial, they go through all that stuff and make sure that it's to the code that Prairie View has adopted. And then they go through each page, and we have different people that do, you know, we have fire, and then we have, like I said, the commercial, and they'll do mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and take a look at all that's been submitted. And once it passes the plan review point, then it comes back to the city to see if, and let's say on commercial, let's say there may be some civil items that are still outstanding that the civil engineer is having to take a look at, and that would be on the city part. So until all that got done and got back to the city from the city's engineer, well, then the permit wouldn't be issued yet. So when they get the city gets the complete package back, then they can go in and issue the permits.
so, in that process, once the plan review comes back from Plano, if there's a civil engineering plans that needs to be certified by the city engineer or an engineering firm, who issues, does it come back to Bureau Veritas or
We
does
don't
it
do-
go back
we-
to the city?
We don't do the civils.
Correct, I know they don't, but as far as moving them forward in the process, does it come back to you, is that a city process?
That's a city process.
So, Ms. Rogers, one of the things that I would think in some of our past discussions that would help all of us up here as well as the residents is the process. Because whether it's a garage or a house or a bigger project like those that are on the agenda,
Right.
I think making sure that council understands the process, and as well as certainly our residents, it would help increase the comfort level just in knowing if they see something, it's gone through what? We receive the documents and all the necessary paperwork, people pay their fee, which is primarily the inspection fee for Bureau Veritas based on the facility and what have you. And then we send it to you. Then it goes to Plano.
It goes to Plano for plan review.
Okay.
And then it comes back to the city, and if everything's good to go, then the city issues the permit. That lets the contractor get started. The first thing we do out there, when the permit is issued, is we'll do the plumbing rough. And then the next, what happens is the foundation. If we're talking residential, a lot of times with the plumbing rough, they'll have the water line or the yard sewer in also, depending upon if they've had their taps made and paid for their water services. That or that's a separate one. After the rough, like I said, was the foundation. After the foundation comes, they'll start framing and doing all their mechanical, electrical, and plumbing inside. I'm going through a typical residential. Once all that's done, then the superintendent will call in for an inspection. It goes to our Fort Worth office, which schedules the reports, schedules the inspections. And then we get them in the field, so we go out and schedule it for the next day to do that inspection. And that's when we go out on site and make our notes. And sometimes a lot of them don't pass the first time. There may be, some issues that they need to resolve. But once they pass, all those failed or past partials in the past are mute. They're not there anymore. They go away because we've moved on. They've made the necessary corrections and we've been able to move on. Yes, sir.
So I have a question. Say that one part of the process is past partial. Is that development still allowed to continue to build past the past partial?
It is, it depends upon what we're waiting for. There's some of them out at Campus Edge, that's a past partial for, I need letters from the foundation, from an engineer for the foundation. They weren't quite ready whenever I got there. There were some items they needed to button up, and for them to be able to move forward, they'd have to get the engineer out there to take a look at the foundation, make sure all the vapor barrier was properly taped, make sure all the spacing and stuff was right. And then what I'll do that, if it's on this case, I do a past partial on the foundation pending engineer's letter. A lot of times, like we're doing a lot of the water lines out there, they can only do a building at a time. And they'll put one of them, and we're doing the main water line, so it's a past partial because they're still having to put in more water lines down the road. So I wouldn't pass it because then it closes that section out. So we have to keep that one on going as past partial. We're talking these water lines because they're having to extend them out across the property.
It's an ongoing process, so
Right.
only if it's a part, like, so piping, it might be a past partial because you continue to build, you gotta continue to do pipes.
And it all depends upon the situation. If we were going back to a residential, there may be a past partial on the electrical because they had improper nail plate protection. And I'm just waiting for them to put the nail plate protection on and put it back on the schedule for me to go back out and make sure that it was installed properly. I mean, a past partial lets them keep moving forward, correct that item they need to correct, and get me back out there before it gets covered up.
And that's an industry type thing, if you would, in construction and building.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, Councilman?
Hey, thank you. First, I guess